Hey there, do you dream of escaping into a book? Maybe your escape includes a cozy cabin in the mountains or a magical town along the coast. Either way, you're in the right place. Welcome to Literary Escapes with me, Becky. This year on the podcast, we're exploring the United States. So every week I'm going to bring you a new book set in a different state. So let's see where we're going today. Welcome back to the Literary Escapes podcast. We are continuing our trek through the United States with the Read Across the U.S. Book Club. And today we are visiting Indiana. And our tour guide author for this week is Camilla Isley. Is that how I say your last name, Isley?
Isley.
Isley. I apologize. Welcome, Camilla. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you. So my relationship, if you will, with Indiana is my daughter went to school there for college. And so in Indianapolis. And so I drive up there a few times a year, drop her off, pick her up, drop her off, pick her up. And it's like a 14-hour drive from Florida. So we never stuck around very long. So what is how do you know Indianapolis, or I guess Indiana?
I lived there for 3 years.
Okay.
It's almost 10 years ago now. And I'm from Italy originally, but my husband had a company there that needed startupping.
Okay.
And so we moved to South Bend for 3 years. And
nice.
We were already engaged at the time. So we got married actually in the States while we were living in Indiana, not in Indiana, but yeah. So it's a really good time of our lives that we love.
Okay. That's very cool. And so did you like Indiana when you lived there?
I love the United States. So yeah.
I've never been to South Bend.
Yeah.
So how is that one?
It's famous, I guess, just for Notre Dame, the university.
Okay. Yep.
So a lot of the city revolves around the campus, you know. The campus is really nice if you just want to have a walk. And I think the fall is really pretty. We had a house with a garden. You get all the squirrels, the chipmunks, birds. It's like living in the woods. It was really nice.
Nice. And how is it different from Italy, where you are right now?
I mean,
night and day.
No, it doesn't compare. It's too different, you know. It's like a completely different thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess because South Bend also in particular doesn't even have a lot of a city center. It's maybe one street with a few shops. And then it's mostly the campus, the mall, you know, the big shopping center. Is a typical American Midwestern city. And so, but you don't have the square, the city square, where maybe like, you know, you go. But it was really nice because you could drive to Lake Michigan really easy. And Chicago is near. And, the people are really friendly, really welcoming. Everyone is so kind. Like whenever you go shopping, or even the waitress, the servers at the restaurant, people are like super, super nice.
Yeah. I found that to be the case as well. So I like that. Now, my understanding is that you came from a science engineering background.
Yes.
And you're a rom-com author. So how did you make that switch? It's not a natural progression.
No, it's not. So I've always been a reader, you know, besides studying whatever I was studying. I always been reading, thanks to my parents, because they are also big readers. So my house was always full of books. I would borrow their books when growing up, whatever they were reading. Like my mom gave me my first Harry Potter. She said, "Oh, I found this at the library. I think you might like it." You know, so
nice.
Yeah. And when we moved to Indiana, I quit my job, of course, in Italy, because my husband and we are an office romance, so we were working together. And then he got asked to move to the States. So I quit, and suddenly, I had a lot of free time.
Right.
And I always had like this story buzzing in my head. So I took a few writing classes online.
Fun.
And, on the platforms like Coursera and edX.
Okay.
There are big universities like Berkeley, even Harvard. They offer
Right.
free courses, and you can do also creative writing. Because I literally knew nothing about writing, so I thought I'm just gonna take a few online classes and see where that goes. But then in the end, what you have to do is you have to start to write.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Even if it's not perfect, get the first draft down, and then you can get help to edit, to improve.
Yeah.
And the more you write, I guess, the more you learn.
That's awesome.
And keep reading also, because
Yeah, exactly. So what was your first book that you wrote?
My first book is I Wish for You.
Okay.
So it's a magical realism story. It's a bit weird. I think the first book for someone has nothing to do with any market,
Exactly.
So
yes.
It's a weird story where there is this woman who is still in love with her ex, who dumped her for no apparent reason. And one day she finds a magic box at the flea market in Chicago, and a sort of genie of the lamp comes out, granting her wishes. And she uses all the wishes to find out what the story is, why her ex, dumped her, because now he's dating one of her colleagues. So, and he came out of the blue.
Funny.
And so, with the help of the magic genie, who's also a very hot guy, with his own curse to unravel, she discovered all the mystery of what happened with the ex.
Gotcha. That's so funny. You don't write like the paranormal or fantasy or however you...
I sometimes do. I mean,
okay.
I'm not following guidelines where they say find your niche and stick to it.
That's not you.
No. Sometimes I have the weird books coming out. So I have maybe 4 or 5 now that are not strictly contemporary.
Okay.
One is a sliding door type of story.
Yeah.
Where we see in one reality she does something, and like in one reality she go crashing her ex's wedding before he gets married, and in the other she doesn't, because she has to save a friend. And so we see what happens
either way. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. And this summer my next book coming out is another weird one because I have a single lady who's very cynic on dating. She's tired of these Tinder dates going bad, and all her friends are coupled, and they're giving the typical annoyed advice all people in a relationship tell single people.
Exactly.
People hate to hear, like when you stop searching for love, it will arrive. You just all this kind of stuff. And she's a big romance reader, and so she finds this magical book in her library, and she starts dreaming about she's the protagonist of the story,
the book boyfriend.
And so I think one fantasy all romance reader is for a book boyfriend to become real.
Oh yeah.
And so I said, I can give myself a book like that, so I want to make a book boyfriend splash into reality. And halfway through the book boyfriend becomes real, but now he's a book boyfriend, so he does all the weird stuff that book boyfriends do, like he growls at people, and he tries, like if they get stuck in an elevator, he's the hero, so he tries to break the elevator to save everyone, and then destroys everything.
That's funny.
So it's a bit of an adjustment.
All the things that are good in a book, but not necessarily in real life.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought it would be funny to see, like how the good boyfriend say we love, and then see him then doing this stuff. Like he can. So there are all these fun moments, and then of course they have to learn how to live in the real world.
Right. I love that. That is such a funny idea. That's very clever. So do your books take place like all over the world or all over the States? How do you choose a destination or a setting?
Mostly they're in the States. I have
Mhm.
someone like the Parallel Lives. I think she was in London because it was the reason for the breakup. This one also, the one I was talking about the book Boyfriend, also has a scene in South Bend, of course,
Okay.
because I wanted them to do something. So they go to Notre Dame. They're in South Bend for a weekend. I have one, I think, that is in Thailand, but because that one is an adventure treasure hunt kind of book, so I needed an exotic location, like in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
jungle. But mostly, yeah, it's United States.
Nice. Okay.
California, New York, Chicago, sometimes Indiana.
Nice.
It depends.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so the book that we're reading in the book club is called Love to Hate You. I started it last night and I'm very much enjoying it. It's a funny
Yeah.
opposites attract. I'm
Yeah.
thinking he's a very, very small town cowboy and she's a big city girl. And
Exactly.
yeah, so tell us about that story, I guess.
Yeah. So the protagonist, Samantha, comes from another book, The Love Theorem. And
Okay.
she's a movie producer. And while I was writing The Love Theorem, I wrote her like she was really city girl, like in love with New York, already going out to Los Angeles, too much sun, she didn't enjoy. And so I like to take secondary characters that I love in a book and develop them into their own story. So I thought, when you have a city girl like that, the meanest thing you can do is send her to a small town to live there for a prolonged period of time.
Exactly.
And so I made that it's an enemies to lover at the core. City girl, country boy, enemies to lover, because basically she's filming a movie. She's producing a movie that's being filmed in this big outdoor ranch farm in Indiana, in a fictional town, but in Indiana. And something is going wrong. The movie keeps being delayed. And so the book opens with her boss calling her in and saying, you have to fix this. You cannot fix it for New York. You have to be on
You have to
site.
be in Indiana. Yep.
Exactly, for 3 months. And when she gets there, she finds out that the reason everything is going wrong is not by chance, but it's because the mayor is delaying everything on purpose, because
Yeah.
they have Hollywood stars in the town, so there are a lot of tourists. Everything is booked, and it's good for the town economy,
Right,
So
right.
he wants to keep the movie crew in town as long as possible.
That's funny. Okay.
And also, since the place is so booked, she has to. The only available place is the bed and breakfast with his mom. So she's basically living with his mom, and they're bumping into each other a lot, because then they have to negotiate an agreement, because she tells him, okay, you can delay my movie, but if you stop it, we're just going to go bankrupt and you're not going to have
No
anyone
movie.
here
Yeah.
anymore. Exactly. So they have to make this big negotiation. And then, he's going to learn that maybe the small towns and the cowboys are not so bad after all.
Exactly. I love that. That's a fun one. So tell us about the book that you're working on right now. You had mentioned it earlier, but go ahead and tell us about that one.
Okay, so the book Boyfriend one is finished and it's coming out in July, the 5th
Awesome.
of
What's the
July.
name of that one?
It started with a book.
I saw that one on Amazon. I like it.
And now, so I wrote a Christmas book after that.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Which is gonna be the start of a new trilogy. So it's gonna be my first brother best friend book.
Okay.
Where they hate each other and they end up having to spend the holidays together. And that one is coming out in September. And the one I'm writing right now is the sequel to that one.
Okay.
And it doesn't have a title yet, but in my head I call it the Meat Puke book, because basically she's pregnant and she gets fired. The day she discovers she's pregnant, she gets fired. And the day his boss basically he overhears his boss saying that he cannot promote him to the top job because he doesn't have a family, he won't have a legacy, and so he invents having a pregnant girlfriend.
Right.
And then the lie is so big that he feels sick, and they end up throwing up to each other in the same public restroom. So that's why in my head it's the meat puke book. And of course she doesn't have any money, she's pregnant, he needs a pregnant girlfriend, and so they do the classical marriage or convenient thing.
You have a funny, I like your idea of getting a character and then what's the worst situation I can put them in and put them there.
Yeah.
I think that's such a funny way to figure out where your story's gonna go. I love that.
Yeah, and also this one, this marriage of convenience is not an enemies to lover, but usually my favorite to write is the enemies to lover.
That's a good one
because
for rom-coms especially, so I like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that banter when they argue and then it turns to chemistry. I really love it, to read it and to write it.
That's fun. What do you like reading?
I shift between, I think, fantasy, romantasy, and mostly contemporary rom-com. I
Okay.
used to read historical fiction, but not as much anymore because I get all my castle needs from fantasy now, I think.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's always
So
interesting to hear what people read and, does it correlate with what they write? And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah.
No, for example, I don't touch thrillers or mystery, nothing like that.
Okay.
No.
Very good. And so what are you reading right now?
Right now I'm reading the sequel to One Dark Window, but I don't remember the name.
Okay.
It's book 2 in that series, which is a romantasy, I think. Yeah, fantasy. I don't know where a fantasy gets classified like romantasy.
Yeah.
But it has a strong romance going too. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, cool. Well, I'll let you get back to your beach day with your children. Thank you for joining me today. I enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you for having me. And I look forward to catch up in the group.
Yeah. We will see you in the book club. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining me today. If you'd like to be part of the Read Across the U.S. book club, I'd love to have you join us. There is a link in the show notes. So just head down there and click and we will welcome you in. So see you in the book club, I hope. Have a great day and we'll see you next week with a new episode.